One of the strangest of all worlds. Yet perhaps, as we look around at our own fantastically increasing technological complexities, one of the more inevitable in a highly advanced civilization. In this story, a gigantic super-advanced society is completely characterized by an artifact which it has abandoned. First, there were 2 planets looted of their ores, mined and gutted, and left there naked for the crows of space to pick. Then there was a planet with a fairy city, a place that made one think of cobwebs with the dew still on them, a place of glass and plastic so full of wondrous beauty that it hurt one's throat to look. But there was just this one city. There was no other sign of habitation on the entire planet, and the city was deserted, perfect in its beauty but hollow as a laugh. Finally, there was a metal planet, third outward from the sun, not a lump of metallic ore, but a planet with a surface, or a roof, a fabricated metal burnished to the polish of a bright steel mirror, and it shone, by reflected light, like another sun.
I can't get over the conviction that this place is no more than a camp.
I think you're crazy.
He wiped his forehead with his sleeve.
It may not look like a camp, but it meets the definition.
It looks like a city to me, Lawrence told himself. It always has from the first moment that I saw it, and it always will. Big and vital, despite its fairy touch. A place to live and dream and find the strength and courage to put the dreams to work. Great dreams, he told himself. Dreams to match the city. Such a city as would take man 1,000 years to build.
What I can't understand is why it is deserted. There is no sign of violence. No sign of death at all.
They voluntarily left it. They up and went away. And they did it because it wasn't really home to them. It was just a camp, and it held no traditions and no legends. As a camp, it had no emotional value for the ones who built it.
A camp is just a stopping place. A temporary habitation that you sling together and make as comfortable as you can with the things at hand.
So?
These folks did more than stop here. That city wasn't slapped together. It was planned with foresight and built with loving care.
On a human basis, yes. You're dealing here with non-human values and an alien viewpoint.
Lawrence squatted and plucked at a grass stem, stuck it between his teeth, and chewed on it thoughtfully. He squinted across the brilliant blaze of noonday sun at the silent, empty city. Griffith hunkered down beside him.
Don't you see, Paul, that it has to be a temporary habitation? There is no sign of any previous culture on the planet. No artifact. King and his gang went over it, and there wasn't anything. Nothing but the city. Think of it. An absolutely virgin planet with a city that would take a race 1,000,000 years of living just to dream. First, there'd be a tree to huddle under when it rained. Then a cave to huddle in when night came down. After that, there'd be a tent or a wigwam or a hut. Then 3 huts, and you had a village.
I know.
1,000,000 years of living. 10,000 centuries before a race could build a fairyland of glass and plastics. And that 1,000,000 years of living wasn't done on this planet. 1,000,000 years of living leaves scars upon a planet. And there aren't any scars. This planet is brand new.
You're convinced they came from somewhere else, Dune?
They must have.
From Planet 3, perhaps.
We can't know that. Not yet.
Maybe never.
He spat out the blade of grass.
This system is like a pulp hood unit. Everywhere you turn, you stumble on a clue. And every clue is haywire. Too many mysteries, Dune. This city here, the metal planet, the looted planets. It's just too much to swallow. It would be our luck to stumble on a place like this.
I have a feeling there's a tie between it all.
Lawrence grunted.
It's a sense of history. A feeling for the fitness of things. Given time, all historians acquire it.
A footstep crunched behind them, and they came to their feet, turning toward the sound. It was Doyle, the radio man, hurrying toward them from the lifeboat camp.
Sir, I just had Taylor out on Planet 3. He asks if you won't come. It seems they found a door.
A door. A door into the planet. What did they find inside?
He didn't say, sir.
He didn't say.
No. Ow. You see, sir, they can't budge the door. There's no way to open it.
The door wasn't much to look at. There were 12 holes in the planet's surface, grouped in 4 groups of 3 each, as if they might be handholds for a thing that had 3 fingers. And that was all. You could not tell where the door began or where it ended.
There is a crack, but you can just barely see it with a glass. Even under magnification, it's no more than a hairline. The door's machined so perfectly that it's practically one piece with the surface. For a long time, we didn't even know it was a door. We sat around and wondered what the holes were for. Scott found it. Just skating around and saw those holes. You could have looked until your eyes fell out, and you'd never have found it except by accident.
And there's no way to open it?
None that we have found. We tried lifting it, sticking our fingers in the holes and heaving. You might as well have tried to lift the planet. And anyhow, you can't get much purchase here. Can't keep your feet under you. This stuff's so slick you can scarcely walk on it. You don't walk, in fact, you skate. I'd hate to think what would happen if some of the boys got to horsing around and someone gave someone else a shove. It would take us a week to run them down.
I know. I put the lifeboat down as easy as I could and we skidded 40 miles or more.
Taylor chuckled.
I've got the big job stuck on with all the magnetics that we have. And even then, she wobbles if you lean on her. Ice is positively rough alongside this stuff.
About this door. It occurred to you it might be a combination?
Sure, we thought of that. And if it is, we haven't got a ghost. Take the element of chance, multiply it by the unpredictability of an alien mind.
You checked?
We did. We stuck a camera tentacle down into those holes, and we took all kinds of shots. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 8 inches deep or so, wider at the bottom than the top, but smooth. No. No bumps. No ridges. No keyholes. We managed to saw out a hunk of metal so that we could test it. Used up 3 blades getting it out. Basically it's steel, but it's alloyed with something Mueller can't tie a tag onto, and the molecular structure has him going nuts.
Stumped.
Yeah. I skated the ship over to the door, and we hooked up a derrick and heaved with everything we had. The ship swung like a pendulum, and the door stayed put.
We might look for other doors. They might not be all alike.
We looked. Crazy as it sounds, we did. Each man jack of us, creeping on our shin bones. We mapped the area off in sectors and crawled on our hands and knees for miles, squinting and peering. We almost put our eyes out, what with the sun glaring from the metal and our images staring back at us as if we were crawling on a mirror.
Come to think of it, they probably wouldn't have built doors very close together. Every 100 miles, say. Or maybe every 1,000.
You're right. It might be 1,000.
There's just one thing to do.
Yeah, I know. But I hate to do it. We got a problem here. Something we should work out. And if we blast, we failed at the first equation.
I know how you feel. If they beat us on the first move, we haven't got a chance at the second or the third.
We can't just sit around.
No. I guess we can't.
I hope it works.
It did. The blast ripped the door free and hurled it into space. It came down a mile away and rolled like a crazy, jagged wheel across the ice-slick surface. Half an acre or so of the surface itself peeled up and back and hung twisted like a question mark that sparkled in the sun. The unmanned lifeboat, clamped to the metal by its weak magnetics, like a half-licked stamp, came unstuck when the blast let loose. It danced a heavy-footed skater's waltz for a good 12 miles before it came to rest. The metal of the surface was a mere 14 inches thick, a paper-thin covering when one considered that the sphere was the size of Earth. A metal ramp, its upper 10 feet twisted and smashed by the explosive force, wound down into the interior like a circular staircase. Nothing came out of the hole. No sound or light or smell. 7 men went down the ramp to see what they could find. The others waited topside, sweating them out. Take 1 trillion sets of Tinker Toys. Turn loose 1 billion kids. Give them all the time they need and don't tell them what to do. If some of them are non-human, that makes it better yet. Then take 1 million years to figure out what happened. 1 million years, mister, won't be long enough. You'll never do it. Not in 1 million years. It was machinery, of course. It could be nothing else. But it was toy machinery. Something you'd expect a kid to throw together from sheer exuberance the morning after he got a real expensive set. There were shafts and pools and discs and banks of shining crystal cubes that might have been tubes, although one couldn't quite be sure. There were cubic miles of it, and it glistened like a silvery Christmas tree in the fanning of the helmet lights, as if it had been polished no more than an hour before. But when Lawrence leaned over the side of the ramp and ran gloved fingers along a shining shaft, the fingers came back dusty, with a dust as fine as flour. They had come down, the 7 of them, twisting along the ramp until they had grown dizzy, and always there was the machinery stretching away on every side as far as the lights could penetrate the darkness. Machinery that was motionless and still, and it seemed, for no reason that anyone could voice, that it had been still for many countless ages. And machinery that was the same, repeating over and over again the senseless array of shafts and spools and discs and the banks of shining crystal cubes. Finally, the ramp had ended on a landing, and the landing ran on every side as far as the lights could reach, with the spidery machinery far above them for a roof, and furniture, or what seemed to be furniture, arranged upon the metal floor. They stood together in a tight-packed group, and their lights stabbed out defiantly, and they were strangely quiet in the darkness, and the silence and the ghost of another time and people.
An office.
Or a control room.
It might be their living quarters.
A machine shop, perhaps.
Have you gentlemen considered that it might be none of these? It might be something which is not allied with anything we know.
All we can do is to translate it as best we can in the terms we know. My guess is that it could be a library.
Lawrence thought. There were 7 blind men, and they chanced to come upon an elephant.
Let's look. If we don't look, we'll never know.
They looked, and still, they didn't know. Take a filing cabinet now. It's a handy thing to have. You take some space and you wrap some steel around it, and you have your storage space. You put in sliding drawers and you put nice, neat folders in the drawers, and you label the folders and arrange them alphabetically. Then when you want a certain paper, you almost always find it. 2 things are basic: space and something to enclose it, to define it from other space, so that you can locate your designated storage space at a moment's notice. The drawers in the alphabetically filed folders are refinements. They subdivide the space so you can put your fingers instantly on any required sector of it. That's the advantage of a filing cabinet over just heaving everything you want to save into a certain corner of the room. But suppose someone built a filing cabinet without any drawers.
Hey, this thing is light. Someone give me a hand.
Scott stepped forward quickly, and between them they lifted the cabinet off the floor and shook it. Something rattled inside of it. They put it down again.
There's something in there.
Yes. A receptacle. No doubt of that. And there's something in it.
Something that rattles.
Seems to me, it was more like a rustle than a rattle.
It won't do us much good if we can't get at it. You can't tell much about it by just listening to it while you fellows shake it.
That's easy. It's fourth dimensional. You say the magic words and reach around a corner somewhere and fish out what you want.
Cut out the humor, Dune. This is serious business. Any of you got an idea how the thing is made?
It couldn't be made. It simply wasn't made. You can't take a sheet of metal and make a cube of it and not have any seams.
Remember the door up on the surface? We couldn't see anything there either, until we got a magnifier on it. That cabinet opened somehow. Someone or something opened it at one time, to put in whatever rattled when you shook it.
And they wouldn't put something in there if there was no way to get it out.
Maybe it was something they wanted to get rid of.
We could rip it open. Get a torch.
We've done that once already. We had to blast the door.
There's 1/2 mile of those cabinets stretched out here, all standing in a row. Let's shake some more of them.
They shook a dozen more. There wasn't any rattle. There was nothing in them.
Cleaned out.
Let's get out of here. This place gives me the creeps. Let's go back to the ship and sit down and talk it over. We'll go loony batting out our brains down here. Take those control panels over there.
Maybe they aren't control panels. We must be careful not to jump at what seem obvious conclusions.
Whether they are or not, they have some functional purpose. Control panels fill the bill better than anything I can think of at the moment.
But they have no markings. Control setup would have dials or lights or something you could see.
Not necessarily something that a human could see. To some other race, we might qualify no better than stone blind.
I have a horrible feeling that we are getting nowhere.
We took a licking on the door. And we've taken a licking here.
We'll have to solve some orderly plan of exploration. We must map it out. Take first things first.
We'll leave a few men on the surface, and the rest of us will come down here and set up camp. We'll work in groups and we'll cover the situation as swiftly as we can. The general situation. After that, we can fill in the details.
First things first. What comes first?
I wouldn't know. What ideas have the rest of you?
Let's find out what we have. A planet or a planetary machine?
We'll have to find more ramps. There must be other ramps.
We should try to find out how extensive this machinery is, how much space it covers.
And find if the machine's running.
What we saw wasn't.
What we saw may be no more than one corner of a vast machine. All of it might not work at once. Once in 1,000 years or so, a certain part of the machine might be used, and then only for a few minutes, or maybe even seconds. Then it might be idle for another 1,000 years. But it would have to be there for the once in 1,000 years that it might be needed.
Somehow, we should try to make at least an educated guess what the machinery's for. What it does. What it produces.
But keep your hands off it. No pushing this and pulling that just to see what happens. Lord knows what it might do. Just keep your big paws off it until you know what you are doing.
It was a planet, all right. They found the planetary surface, 20 miles below. 20 miles through the twisting maze of shining, dead machinery. There was air, almost as good as Earth's, and they established camp on the lower levels, glad to get rid of space gear and live as normal beings. But there was no light, and there was no life. Not even an insect, not one crawling, creeping thing. although life had once been there. The ruined cities told the story of that life. A primitive culture, King had said. A culture not much better than 20th century Earth. Duncan Griffith squatted beside the small atomic stove, hands spread out to its welcome glow.
They moved to Planet 4. They didn't have the room to live here, so they went out there and camped.
And mined 2 other planets to get the ore they needed.
Lawrence hunched forward dejectedly.
What bothers me is the drive behind this thing. The sheer, unreasoning urge. The spirit that would drive an entire race from their home to another planet. That would enable them to spend centuries to turn their own planet into one vast machine. There isn't much doubt, is there, that it's nothing but machinery.
We haven't seen it all, of course. That would take years, and we haven't years to spend. But we are fairly certain it's all one machine, a world covered by machinery to the height of 20 miles.
And dead machinery. Dead because they stopped. They shut the machinery down and took all their records and all their tools, and went away and left an empty shell, just as they left the city out on Planet 4.
Or were driven away.
Not driven away. We found no sign of violence anywhere in this entire system. No sign at all of haste. They took their time and packed, and they didn't leave a single thing behind. Not a single clue. Somewhere there must be blueprints. You couldn't build, and you couldn't run a place like this without some sort of roadmap. Somewhere there must be records. Records that kept tally on the results or the production of this world machine. But we haven't found them, because they were taken away when the people left.
We haven't looked everywhere.
We found repositories where they logically would be kept, and they weren't there. There was nothing there.
Some of the cabinets we couldn't get into. Remember? Those we found the first day, on the upper level.
There were thousands of other places that we could and did get into, but we didn't find a tool or a single record or anything to hint anything ever had been there.
Those cabinets up on the last level. They are the logical place.
We shook them, and they all were empty.
All but one.
I'm inclined to believe you're right, Dune. This world was abandoned, stripped, and left to rust. We should have known that when we found it undefended. They would have had some sort of defenses, automatic, probably. And if anyone had wanted to keep us out, we'd never have gotten in.
If we'd come around when this world was operating, we'd have been blown to dust before we even saw it.
They must have been a great race. The economics alone of this place are enough to scare you. It must have required the total manpower of the entire race many centuries to build it, and after that, many other centuries to keep it operating. That means they spent a minimum of time in getting food, in manufacturing the million things that a race would need to live.
They simplified their living and their wants to the bare necessities. That in itself, alone, is a mark of greatness.
And they were fanatics. Don't forget that for a moment. Only the sheer, blind, one-track purpose of an obsessed people could do a job like this.
But why did they build the thing?
No one spoke.
Not even a guess? Not one educated guess.
Slowly, a man came to his feet from the shadows outside the tiny circle of light, cast by the shining stove.
I have a guess. In fact, I think I know.
Let's have it, Scott.
I have to have some proof. You'd think that I was crazy.
There is no proof. There is no proof for anything.
I know of a place where there might be proof, just might.
They sat stock still, all of them, in the tight stove circle.
You remember that cabinet? The one Taylor was talking about just now. The one we shook and something rattled in it. The one we couldn't open.
We still can't open it.
Give me some tools, and I would get it open.
We did that once. We used bull strength and awkwardness to open up the door. We can't keep on using force to solve this problem. It calls for more than force. It calls for understanding.
I think I know what it was that rattled.
Lawrence was silent.
Look, if you have something valuable, something you don't want someone else to steal, what do you do with it?
Why, I put it in a safe.
Silence whistled down the long, dead stretches of the vast machine above them.
There could be no safer place than a cabinet that had no way of being opened. Those cabinets held something that was important. They left one thing, something behind, something that they overlooked.
Lawrence came slowly to his feet.
Let's get the tools.
It was an oblong card, very ordinary looking, and it had holes punched in it in irregular patterns. Scott held it in his hand and his hand was shaking.
I trust that you're not disappointed.
Not at all. It's exactly what I thought we'd find.
They waited.
Would you mind?
It's a computation card. An answer to some problem fed into a differential calculator.
But we can't decipher it. We have no way of knowing what it means.
We don't need to decipher it. It tells us what we have. This machine, this whole machine, is a calculator.
Why, that's crazy. A mathematical.
Not mathematical. At least not purely mathematical. It would be something more than that. Logic, more than likely. Maybe even ethics.
He glanced around at them and read the disbelief that still lingered on their faces.
It's there for you to see. The endless repetition, the monotonous sameness of the whole machine. That's what a calculator is. Hundreds or thousands or millions or billions of integrators, whatever number you would need to have to solve a stated question.
But there would be a limiting factor.
The human race has never paid too much attention to limiting factors. They've gone ahead and licked them. Apparently this race didn't pay too much attention to them either.
There are some that you just can't ignore.
A brain has limitations. It won't apply itself. It forgets too easily, and too many things, and the wrong things, always. It is prone to worry, and in a brain, that's partial suicide. If you push it too hard, it escapes into insanity. And finally, it dies. Just when it's getting good, it dies. So you build a mechanical brain, a big one that covers an Earth-sized planet for the depth of 20 miles. A brain that will tend to business and will not forget and will not go insane, for it cannot know frustration. Then you up and leave it, and that's insanity compounded.
The speculation is wholly without point, for there is no way of knowing what they used it for. You persist in regarding the people of this system as humanoids, when they probably weren't.
They could not have been so different from us. That city out on 4 might have been a human city. Here on this planet, they face the same technical problems the human race would face if we tried a similar project, and they carried it out in much the same manner that we would.
You overlook the very thing that you yourself have pointed out so often, the fanatic drive that made them sacrifice everything to one great idea. A race of humans could not cooperate that closely or that fanatically. Someone would blunder, and someone would cut someone else's throat, and then someone would suggest there ought to be an investigation, and the pack would be off, howling down the wind. They were thorough, terrifyingly thorough. There's no life here, none that we could find, not even an insect. And why not, do you think? Perhaps because a bug might get itself entangled in a gear or something and bollocks up the works. So the bugs must go.
Griffith wagged his head.
In fact, they suggest the thinking of a bug itself. An ant, say. A colony of ants. A soulless mutual society that goes ahead in blind but intelligent obedience toward a chosen goal. And if that were so, my friend, your theory that they use the calculator to work out economic and social theories is so much poppycock.
It's not my theory. It was only one of several speculations. Another equally as valid might be that they were trying to work out an answer to the universe, why it is and what it is and where it might be going.
And how?
You're right. And how? And if they were, I feel sure it was no idle wondering. There must have been a pressure of some sort, some impelling reason why they felt that they must do it.
Go on. I can hardly wait. Carry out the fairy tale to its bitter end. They found out about the universe and...
I don't think they did. No matter what it was, the chances are against their finding the final answer to the thing they sought.
For my part, I would incline to think they might have. Why else would they go away and leave this great machine behind? They found the thing they wanted, so they had no further use for the tool that they had built.
You're right. They had no further use for it, but not because it had done everything that it could do, and that wasn't quite enough. They left it because it wasn't big enough, because it couldn't work the problem they wanted it to work.
Big enough. Why, all they had to do was add another tier all around the planet.
Remember what I said about limiting factors? Well, there's one that you can't beat. Put steel under 50,000 pounds per square inch pressure, and it starts to flow. The metal used in this machine must have been able to withstand much greater pressure, but there was a limit beyond which it was not safe to go. At 20 miles above the planet's surface, they had reached that limit. They had reached dead end.
Griffith let out a long breath.
Obsolete.
An analytical machine is a matter of size. Each integrator corresponds to a cell in the human brain. It has a limited function and capacity. And what one cell does must be checked by two other cells. The tell-me-thrice principle of making sure that there is no error.
They could have cleared it and started over again.
Probably they did. Many, many times. Although there always would have been an element of chance that each time it was cleared it might not be, well, rational or moral. Clearing on a machine this size would be a shock, like corrective surgery on the brain. Two things might have happened. They might have reached a clearance limit. Too much residual memory clinging to the tubes.
Subconscious. It would be interesting to speculate if a machine could develop a subconscious.
Or they might have come to a problem that was so complicated, a problem with so many facets, that this machine, despite its size, was not big enough to handle it.
So they went off to hunt a bigger planet. Another planet small enough to live and work on, but enough bigger so they could have a larger calculator.
It would make sense. They'd be starting fresh, you see, with the answers they had gotten here. And with improved designs and techniques.
And now, the human race takes over. I wonder what we'll be able to do with a thing like this. Certainly not what its builders intended it should be used for.
The human race won't do a thing for 100 years at least. You can bet on that. No engineer would dare to turn a single wheel of this machine until he knew exactly what it's all about, how it's made and why. There are millions of circuits to be traced, millions of tubes to check, blueprints to be made, technicians to be trained.
That's not our problem, King. We are the bird dogs. We hunt out the quail and flush it, and our job is done, and we go on to something else. What the race does with the things we find is something else again.
He lifted a pack of camp equipment off the floor and slung it across his shoulder.
Everyone set to go?
10 miles up, Taylor leaned over the guardrail of the ramp to look down into the maze of machinery below him. A spoon slid out of his carelessly packed knapsack and went spinning down. They listened to it for a long time, tinkling as it fell. Even after they could hear it no longer, they imagined that they could.